Hello and welcome to Runnah, running Cape Cod, Massachusetts and beyond. I'm Juliana and welcome to our very first race recap and review episode. So I am going to be reviewing the Clarence DeMar Marathon in Keene, New Hampshire today. And what we are going to be doing is talking about the marathon itself, the logistics, the setup, the way that it's organized. And also I'll be giving you my experience running the race. So that way, if you are someone, which I'm assuming you are, who lives in the New England area and you're thinking, is this a race that I would like to run? Then you can use this podcast as either a guide for yourself, hopefully, or a check-in to see like, hey, is this a race that would appeal to me to run as my fall or one of my fall races? And hopefully this is just helpful to anyone who is running a fall marathon or looking to run the Clarence DeMar Marathon specifically. So, like I said, the Clarence DeMar Marathon is in Keene, New Hampshire. It starts at the Gilson School in Keene, New Hampshire, and takes you all the way back down to Keene State, where you will catch the bus to get to the Gilson School, but we'll get to the logistics in a minute. So I think the first thing we need to talk about is the marathon itself and who or what or why is a Clarence DeMar, because I had no idea who Clarence DeMar was. It's really not super relevant to the race, but you are going to get a shirt that has this man's face / body, and the marathon medal itself also has him on it. So you might as well at least know a few quick facts about Mr. Clarence DeMar. So he was a 7-time Boston Marathon winner and also the 1924 Olympic bronze medalist. It says he was born into poverty and he began running while attending the University of Vermont. He also had a lot of health issues. He had some heart issues. And despite that, he achieved his first Boston victory in 1911. So this guy is passed away at this point, no longer with us, moved on, but definitely achieved some big things in his life. He is noted to have continued to win marathons into his 40s, settling into an unbroken Boston winning record. Mr. DeMar's running career spanned into his 60s, and he remained competitive throughout his life. The Clarence DeMar Marathon honors his legacy of perseverance and passion for running. So that's just a brief overview, so that way you kind of have a little bit more insight into the man who was on your shirt, on your medal, on all those things. So I had no idea who this dude was. And you know what? It's not really super relevant to where I am right now, but just so you know, some fun facts. But okay, moving on to the race itself. So this again is largely a marathon. There also is a half marathon that is offered at the exact same time, different starting location, but it starts, I believe, at 8 as opposed to 7, but you don't start in the same spot as the people who are running the full marathon. And we're just going to be talking about the full marathon today. I did not run the half marathon, but just so you know, if you're looking to run a half marathon in Keene, New Hampshire that has beautiful scenery, you can also run the half marathon on the exact same day. So that is part of the weekend that they offer. Both of the races do take place on the same day, which is a Sunday, which this year I believe was the last Sunday of September, and I believe stays on that day. It was the same day as the Berlin Marathon, so shout out to all my peeps who ran the Berlin Marathon. We're going to give a shout out to Glenn and a shout out to Aaron who ran the Berlin Marathon this year. Kudos to you and all my Team for Kids peeps. But that is the time frame for this marathon. And this is a marathon that is a nonprofit and is run by the local Rotary Club, which is very exciting. They also have a lot of initiatives that they do. They do a lot of initiatives through their quote-unquote Team DeMar, which helps raise funds for local initiatives supporting child development and social connection. And it says that runners commit to raising at least $400 for the Keene Elm City Rotary projects if you're going to be part of the Team DeMar group. And they also encourage kids to be part of this. There is a kids run that's part of this weekend as well. And one of their other big shticks is helping fight childhood hunger by funding meal programs through the MUCH, or the Manonak understands childhood hunger. And they also have an unsung hero scholarship that they fund, which is awarded to students for community service and impact. So they do a lot of good. They raise a lot of awareness for hunger awareness, which is fantastic. And again, this is a largely, if not fully, volunteer run race, which is great because everyone who is there really wants to be there. And I felt that vibe the entire time that I was there. The vibes were great the entire time. It was fabulous. It was wonderful. I'll give you a sneak peek into my review of this race. I liked it and I would go back and run it again. So if this is where you want to peace out, go for it. Have a nice time, have a nice day, but we're going to keep going. So let's talk about the course itself. So I'm going to read you guys the course description and then I'm going to give you my interpretation of the course. So this is what it says on the website as the course description, and then we're going to kind of break it down from there. So course description, quote, "While there is a net elevation drop from start to finish, this is an overall challenging yet fair test for endurance runners of all abilities. The first half of the 26.2 mile course offers mostly gentle rolling hills. There's a long climb at mile 15 with short, steeper climbs at miles 22 and mile 24 through the beautiful green lawn and woodland cemeteries. The full marathon begins at the Gilsum, New Hampshire, at the Gilsum Elementary School. And this is a USATF certified course, and it is a Boston qualified course. So, and logistically speaking, for all you people out there like myself who are wondering about the aid stations and the porta potties, there are porta potties every 6 miles on the course from the start to the finish, and there are staffed water stations approximately every 1.5 miles. And I will say, from what I remember, that feels about accurate. And like I said, this marathon starts at the Gilsum Elementary School and ends at Keene State University. So this says that it's got a neck elevation drop from start to finish and also has rolling hills at the beginning. I'm going to tell you, I believe that is half true because it definitely has a net elevation drop. I looked at my Strava and it had a 685 foot elevation drop from when I started my watch, which I actually started it late. So it's probably closer to 700 from start to finish. And, ooh, baby, wow, that first half of the course is a downhill. I was not anticipating that much of a downhill. If you have an issue with the Boston Marathon course, if you ever run Boston and you have an issue with those first, say, 7-ish, 5 to 7 miles that are the first part of the Boston Marathon course, where it's a pretty good downhill mixed in with a few rolling hills, this is way more of a downhill than that is. So just to put it in perspective. That being said, my legs were actually okay. We were fine. So clearly I did enough downhill work. I don't know how well we did. And it was okay. I didn't have an issue with it. It could be really advantageous if you're looking to get a faster time. I know I definitely saw some people on Race Raves, one of the race review websites, saying that they had got their Boston qualifying time on this course because of the net downhill, which, yeah, that makes sense to me. It definitely has a pretty good net downhill. That being said, they're not wrong in that it has rolling hills mixed in with the net downhill as well, too. So you're kind of going along these nice little back roads, these little country roads going through the Gilsum town, and then you're on some back roads going by a nice little stream. And I will say, it definitely is quite hilly. The entire course is rolling hills, which genuinely I really enjoyed. I definitely prefer a rolling hills course to a just flat course. For me, it's more engaging mentally, and I just find it to be more fun. So if you're someone like myself who likes a course that has a lot of rolling hills into it, this is definitely a great course for you. And the thing that stood out to me the most on this course, besides that downhill, the downhill is definitely notable. Definitely notable. But just how gorgeous this course is. This is a stunning course. Absolutely freaking stunning on all accounts. I was so impressed by how gorgeous this course was. And even the parts that really aren't super notable when it comes to just gorgeous views. I mean, there's one part that really just lives in my head rent free right now, where you go on this giant dam that spans a river and you end up between two giant mountains in some part of a national park up there. And it is absolutely stunning. I was running with another runner at that point, and I out loud while I was talking to her, because it's me, I'm Juliana, I'm talking to people. I was like, holy crapola. Wow. Like literally just wow. This is absolutely stunning, stunning, stunning. And the whole course was just gorgeous. It was just so pretty. Even the parts of the course that really shouldn't have been that notable. Like you go through this park and it's absolutely gorgeous. You go through this little neighborhood and it's still really cute and pretty. You end up in the cemetery, like it mentioned at the end, which was actually very beautiful. And end up making your way all the way down into downtown Keene, which noted Keene is a very small town. Keene is very small. Very, very small. Keene State, hadn't been there since I toured it in 2010 for college, which puts things in perspective for you all. Yes, I did graduate high school in 2011. Juliana's turning into an old lady. But it is a small town. And Keene State is very, 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 very small. But again, the most notable thing on this course that really stood out to me as someone who really had no expectations for this course besides that downhill at the beginning was just how absolutely stunning this course is. And you hit it up in this absolutely beautiful time of year to be running a course in New Hampshire where the leaves are just starting to change and it's just so beautiful, so gorgeous, so stunning. And I was just so pleased by the visuals that were provided on the course. And you go through this cool park that was really gorgeous and just very, very, very beautiful. So if you are looking for iconic New England views, you want those leaves, you want those trees, you want like mountains, this is a gorgeous course. Absolutely freaking gorgeous. That being said, other standouts I found from this race, because again, this is a race that I genuinely really enjoyed and would highly recommend to people. I gave this a 10 out of 10, would do again. I will say the volunteers and the staff at this race. So I went to the race, I got there the day before, and I drove up from Massachusetts, about a 3-hour drive from the Cape, and I went and picked up my bib, and the bib pickup is at the Keene State Recreational Center, and the most low-key, no stakes, chill bib pickup. There's not an expo for this race. It's literally just bib pickup. So you just go in. All the lovely volunteers were there. They were all extremely kind. I did go in there as the nosy bitch that I am and was talking to every single one of them, getting some information, bringing it back to the Cape Cod Marathon, as you do, as you are, Juliana. But I mean, not in a malicious way, just in a way of like, hey, let me share information with you. You share information with me. It's nice to meet you. Let's network. Let's have a nice time. So I got to meet the race director. I got to meet the timers. I got to meet a ton of the volunteers, and every single person was so kind, so nice, so welcoming, so wonderful. So not enough nice words for all of the volunteers who were working the number handout, which again, not busy, super easy, super low stakes. You literally park your car, you walk like, I don't know, 200 feet, maybe 300 feet. It's barely even a walk from the parking lot. It's right there. You pick it up at the Keene State Recreational Center. You get your bib. This year they gave us also as part of our swag bag, we got a long sleeve shirt, which I think is actually very nice. I really like the blue color that it is and the material that it's made out of. It's not a tech shirt, but it is super comfortable. I'm wearing it right now. Big fan. You also got a drawstring bag that I ended up using for my drop bag for the next day, which a lot of people ended up doing, which is great. I love when they give you one of those bags and you can use it for your drop bag the next day. It's sustainable. It's reusable. It's a nice time. They also gave us a few little extra goodies. I got this like really nice New Hampshire made chapstick that was in there. We had some electrolytes. We had some goos and a few like little informational packets. So nothing like out of the ordinary, but we did get a really nice drawstring bag. The chapstick, I will say, it's a nice locally made chapstick. Big fan. But I'm a big fan of chapstick anyway. And the shirt, which was also very, very nice. Oh, and we did get a sticker. I forgot too. We got a 26.2 sticker, which I'm a big fan of that. I feel like that's a really nice thing to get as part of your bag too and not have to purchase. And it is Clarence DeMar branded. It's green. It's got the little logo that you get on your marathon medal as well on it. And so I'm a big fan of that. That now lives on my car, which is great. So pick up my bib, got to talk to everyone, got to walk around Keene State, figure out exactly where I wanted to park. I will say, also of note, things that were fabulous about this race, the communication pre-race. So every week, I want to say at least 6 weeks out from the marathon day, we were getting weekly emails from the race director outlining all the things that we needed to know for race day, like parking, things like that. And each week we were getting PDFs attached to the emails that were also letting us know, like, hey, this is the parking PDF. Hey, this is the gear check PDF. Hey, this is just the general schedule of race day PDF. Things that were extremely easy to comprehend and read, and also extremely, extremely useful. All these things were also available on their website to find, which was very easy to navigate. And I will say the communication from the DeMar team ahead of time and the race director ahead of time was really great, really fabulous. Left me feeling very informed and like I knew exactly what to expect and knew where to park and knew where to pick up my stuff. And so I felt very confident, and I will say thank you to them for that high level of communication. So if you're someone like myself who just likes to know what's going on, when, where, why, and how, this is absolutely fabulous, a race for that as well too. So picked up my bib, talked with everyone, walked around, figured out where I was going to park on race day, because there were certain parking lots that you can park in, certain ones that you can't on race day. Mostly parking in the commuter and the staff lots. The resident lots are reserved for the students who are at school right now currently. So that was easy enough. I went back to the Airbnb that I rented, which was absolutely fabulous, about a 5-minute drive from Keene State. So if anyone is wondering which Airbnb I stayed at, I'm happy to give you that information. Just shoot me a message or an email, runnapod@gmail.com or runnapod on Instagram. And I'm happy to pass that along to you. You guys can brawl for that if you want. I won't be running this race next year. I'll hopefully be running Berlin. So have a nice time brawling over, but absolutely stunning Airbnb, fabulous price point. I believe it was around $250 for 2 nights, full kitchen, really great bedroom area, really great living room area, really kind host. So highly recommend, and super, super easy to get to and from the starting line. Just wow, 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 super easy. So went to Aldi's, went back to my Airbnb, got myself set up for the next day, ate some food, went to bed. So morning of the race. So the logistics around this race. So like I said, you are starting in a different spot than where you are ending. So you are starting at the Gilsum School in a little bit higher up New Hampshire than Keene, and you are ending at Keene State College. So how this is going to work is you have to get up. The buses for the marathon are going between 5:15 and 5:45. The last bus out to the Gilsum School leaves at 5:45. And I'll tell you one thing. These people, they put on a very tightly run race, and they ain't shitting around. They ain't fucking around. They are telling you what is going on. So you show up, everyone, again, super kind volunteers. Super, super kind volunteers. You can use the indoor bathrooms at the Keene State Recreation Center if you'd like there. Super easy to park. I was worried about parking. It was absolutely no stress. Absolutely no stress at all. Absolutely just the easiest parking I think I've ever done for a race ever. And parked, literally had to walk like 100 to 200 feet. Got on the bus. It's about like a 20 to 30 minute drive up to the Gilson School. And you get there, it was still dark out because it's, again, like before 7 a.m. And when you get up there, and they had a row of porta potties that we could use. They also allowed us access into the Gilson School's cafeteria and gym, where it was a little bit warmer. It was a little bit nippy in the morning. I will say it was definitely a little bit nippy. At the end of the day, and by the time we got to the end of the marathon, it was like a nice warmer, like 60, 70 degrees. But in the morning, it was like a brisk, like somewhere between like 20 and 30 degrees. Granted, we were still in the dark when we first got up there, so that's a big part of it too. And you're a little bit higher up in New England than I am used to being. So New Hampshire versus Cape Cod. But all the volunteers, absolutely fabulous. And got in the porta potty line once and again and again and again. We might get to this in a minute, but your girl Juliana here. She was having GI issues. For me personally, this was not bodily functions wise my best race. Great organization. Like everything else was great, but yeah, we'll get to the moral of the story soon. But like my stomach was doing this weird gurgly thing that it does that if you've ever run next to me, sometimes you can audibly hear my stomach sloshing. And that's not usually a good thing. And it was sometimes that starts like mid-run and we can kind of make it work. This was starting before the run, and I also was not able to poop before I started running, which both of those things together, not a good thing. Not a good thing. We don't like that. For Juliana's weird GI issues that she has, her ulcerative colitis, her IBD, we don't like either of those. Those in combination, doubly bad. Doubly bad for Juliana personally. So, I was a little bit distressed over that, to say the least. A little bit distressed. But that is a me problem and not a race problem. So, we carried on. I said I was there. I was going to run it. Everything else in my body was feeling okay. So, we went to the bathroom one more time. And so the race starts at 7. And again, they are not shitting around. The race starts at 7 on the dot. That is it. That is everyone is gone. 7, you leave. So there is about a 1/4 mile walk from the school to where the starting line is in Gilson, like proper, I guess, more or less, on their main street. And you start on a pretty steep decline. And like the downhill starts like immediately. Absolutely immediately. So you're like at the top of a hill, essentially. Just waiting to go, just at the top of a hill. They do allow throwaway clothing. There were donation bins, so you can bring throwaway clothing. You can bring trash bags. You can bring things like that. They had trash buckets. They had throwaway buckets for clothing that was being donated. So feel free to bring your clothing, your throwaway clothing, which I actually almost forgot at home because I have a bag full of throwaway clothing at my house that, like, when I'm cleaning through my stuff and I'm doing like a closet purge, we have a trash bag full of marathon throwaway clothes. So that way it's stuff that I was going to either give away or throw away. And I just keep it because I'm like, oh, I could wear that to the start of a marathon. And then that's when it gets donated. So wore some throwaway clothes to the starting line, put them in the donation box, chatted with some people who was like the first time marathon, got my headphones on, got my music going. And my song for this race, and most of my races, especially my bigger ones, I have a song that kind of sticks in my head that's kind of like the vibe, My first marathon that I ran, this didn't even happen till like I think it was mile 22 maybe. I had Life is a Highway come across my headphones, and like that's the song to me that is the marathon, Juliana's 2018 Cape Cod Marathon, first marathon ever song. And like when I ran Tokyo, there's this song called Nostalgia that I don't know who sings it, but it's like a techno song. Most of my songs I listen to are techno songs, but that's my Tokyo Marathon song. So this song came across first. I queued it up actually on purpose, but this is a song that had been resonating with me. And this is also a song that is now the song that I associate with the Clarence DeMar Marathon, which is a remix of The Sound of Silence. And if anyone knows that song too, it kind of starts out with, "Hello, darkness, my old friend. I come to talk with you again." And I was like, yeah, I resonate with that. "Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk with you again." It's remixed by Disturbed. Okay, that's it. We'll just play that. Just so you guys can get like the vibe, that's the vibe. It's a banger. It's a certified banger. I was jamming to that and just trying to deal with my weird GI issues. And again, that's by, it's The Sound of Silence. It's the CYRIL Disturbed remix. So if you're looking for that, if you need that link, hit me up. If you're feeling like, yeah, that's a jam, Juliana, I say, yes, it is. Certified banger right there. That's right. Dealing with GI issues. We put on our music. Started running, pretty much downhill, and oh baby, my stomach was just like sloshity everywhere. So I was like, we gotta distract ourselves. Like, we cannot run 26.2 miles like this. And my stomach was cramping too. That was also the issue too. Like, sometimes I'll get that sloshing, but it won't like cramp. But this was the not pooping with the sloshing, plus the abnormal cramping. And I was like, oh no, this is going to be bad. So pretty much we were just kind of playing the game of how long can I run without pooping my pants. Luckily, the answer was the entire race by the end of that, spoiler alert. So that's a good thing, and very unexpected, to be honest. I was ready to take an emergency shit in the woods at like mile 1. Luckily, I didn't have to. And I think some of that was the fact that I was like, we got to distract ourselves. Like, we got to find something to distract ourselves, my friends, because if we do not, this is going to be the slowest going marathon next to that 2019 Boston Marathon that we ran, where the insoles of our shoes kept sliding out the back, and that was a torture chamber in itself. So I was looking around, kind of fell into a rhythm at like mile 2 or 3, because that's when you can kind of gauge like where other people are, who's kind of running the same pace as you. And I saw someone who had like a cool tattoo. I was like, cool tattoo, my dude. And I was asking him about his tattoo and started talking to this guy, and it was his first marathon. And then we ended up bringing in someone else who was their first marathon. And I was talking with them for a couple of miles. And then I'm talking with this other woman from like miles 8 through 16 or something. And then she kind of petered off a little bit. And the back half, I was kind of by myself. I did pick up another guy from mile, I think 20 through 23. And then he was just not having his best day ever. And so I just kept going. My pace was pretty good. I was feeling otherwise pretty good, besides this weird stomach sloshy thing. I did stop to pee twice. Will say the course description for the restroom stuff, pretty accurate, Again, lucky that I did not have to take a massive dump partway through the course. And my GI tract did not try to throw itself out of my body actively, as it does sometimes. Being in that that nice GI issue group of people. But that being said, I had a lovely time talking with people, and people are funny because obviously I've run a fair few marathons now at this point. This is not my first rodeo, and one of my favorite things to do when I'm running is talk to people. I love to talk to people. I also like to be that person too who is come on, my friends, if I can do it, you can do it. Because you know what? After all the things I just told all you guys too, if I can do it with all that happening, you get your bum off the couch, and we what do? We chuck it in the fucking bucket and we get going. So, that being said, I like to help people out and be that positive person who can just be let's go do it. Plus, for me, it distracts me. It keeps me positive too. It's pretty much a solely selfish endeavor, People Juliana helped me through X, Y, and Z. I'm yes, because I was hurting and I needed a way to get out of my own head and my own negative thoughts. And so I selfishly was trying to help you as a way to get out of my own head. Thank you so much. But that being said, I did run into a nice amount of very, very kind people and some lovely people who were their first marathon. The last gentleman I talked to, it was his 27th marathon or something. So that was interesting. Definitely a good story to be had. And ended up running the last 3 miles by myself, and comes out, passes the beautiful cemetery that's there. You come through a couple other streets, and then you shoot out onto the main street in Keene, whose name escapes me, and make your way down towards Keene State. And then you take a left into Keene State, and you finish right in the main area of Keene State. And the announcer did announce my name. I made eye contact with him, and I made sure that he announced my name because, I announced enough people's names and I would like my name announced too. And I crossed my marathon finish line. Thank you so much. Came across the finish line. My stomach was not feeling great at that point. Literally just made it to a porta potty. And like I said, I did not poop my pants on the course, but you know what? We went to the bathroom right after we crossed that finish line. Went back and explored the finish line area. I will say not too much happening at the finish line area. Nothing outstanding or out of the box. They had a food tent which had soup, it had cookies, it had orange slices, bananas. I will say the thing that stood out to me the most, and I guess this is just a thing either at the Clarence DeMar Marathon or in Keene, just kind of the apple cider donuts and the chowder thing at the Cape Cod Marathon, but chocolate milk, I guess, is a thing here. So they be handing out chocolate milk like it's water here. And it's just kind of a thing, and it's part of the finish line experience is the chocolate milk. So I don't know where that comes from or anything. I don't see anything on the website, and I didn't really inquire with anyone as to what the chocolate milk shenanigans were. But if you're listening to this and you know exactly where the chocolate milk tradition came from, you let me know. You hit me up. Again, runnapod@gmail.com, runnapod on Instagram and TikTok. Yeah, so chocolate milk, the food tent, they had a background so you can take your picture, one of those like canvas backgrounds where you can stand in front of it. It says like Clarence DeMar Marathon. You can take your picture there. They had changing tents. They had a BQ bell that you could ring, and they had the gear check there so you could pick up your gear check. The other notable thing is that because this ends at the Keene State College, they have the locker rooms open for you to shower in, which is really nice. So you can go use a real bathroom. You can go shower in the Keene State locker rooms and change and be like all freshened up, ready to rock and roll, like right after you're done. It's like a little bit of a walk, but really not that far, to be honest, like max a quarter of a mile. It's literally right there. So I picked up my my bag, changed, and then proceeded to go to my car, which again was a super, super easy walk, like literally right there, like half a mile to a quarter mile from the finish line. Hopped in my car. 10 minutes later was back at my Airbnb. One of the most like low-key finish lines I think I've ever been at. Granted, I think this marathon has about like 400 to 500 people in it, so it is on the smaller side of marathons. So you have to take that into account too. Just because if there are less people, that means there's less crowding, that means there's less traffic, all the things that come with less people. It's like if you go to a smaller concert versus like a Taylor Swift concert, it's going to be easier to get out of the smaller concert. Which honestly, after running New York and Tokyo as my last 2 marathons, I'm not mad about. It was a nice time being able to just walk to my car in clean clothing already and drive home to my Airbnb. That was a very nice time. And some of you are probably also wondering still, Juliana, what about your weird GI tract thing that was happening? I was not feeling okay after I finished this marathon. I was not feeling okay. Granted, leading up to this, I had 2 GI bleeds before this, and in the same month, which is not typical for me. And tomorrow we're going for a CAT scan. We have some medical tests pending. But I got home to the Airbnb. I'm not feeling okay. And after my body had decided to start processing things, it was very obvious that I had another GI bleed. So, we worked it out. We made it work. We made it happen. And I just kind of rested the rest of the day and mostly just drank fluids and tried to rehydrate, tried to refuel. It was just not going well. Yeah. I mean, from a personal standpoint, my body, like physically, like my body was fine. And let me just tell you too, like I went for a run the next day and I also was walking there were some really steep stairs. That's the only kind of pitfall I will say about this Airbnb. If you're running the marathon, there's some steep stairs that you got to go up and down. For me, I didn't have any issues with the stairs, but like, again, not my first rodeo. I've run other marathons before. So my body is a little bit more used to it. I'm also someone who usually runs every day too. So I'm kind of used to coming back for more and my body just kind of adapting. So that's just something that I've built up over the last about like 14 years of running. So it's not an overnight process. It's not something that you can just be like, yeah, I'm just good. I mean, there's some people who are genetically, yeah, fine, whatever, but that's not me. But yeah, my body was not doing okay. Not fine. Again, we're getting some medical tests. We're going to be looking into things. So, send some good vibes. If you'd like to send some good vibes, send some good vibes. It's a nice time. But that being said, I still had a really, really nice time. So I was very happy with the race itself. The organizers, absolutely fabulous and stunning and wonderful. Very, 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 very kind people. An extremely easy, logistically speaking, marathon to navigate between the parking, between the communication ahead of time, between getting to and from the starting line the day of, between how efficient the staff and the volunteers were at getting you on the shuttle, off the shuttle to the right spots that you need to be in, to the starting line, from the finish line. Everyone was extremely, extremely kind. I will say there was a fair amount of spectators on the course. I wouldn't say there were none. I will say that I feel like the parts where there were no spectators, I totally get why there weren't, because it was like these really beautiful, really windy roads where honestly, I don't think I needed spectators because the views were just so pretty. Like, I wasn't mad about there not being spectators there, because if they had been there, they would have blocked the beautiful views. I feel like for a race this size, the spectating was pretty good, I will say. Not the entire course, but that there are spectators, but like on the spots where there could be, pretty good amount of crowd support, you know? I feel like there were definitely enough water stops. I probably personally could have done with a few more porta potty stops, but I don't think that there was a lack of porta potty stops. Nothing about this race felt lacking to me. This whole race experience, besides my personal health issues, was fabulous. And I would definitely highly recommend that if you are someone who either lives in the New England area or wants to come up to the New England area for the last weekend in September and likes a lower key, smaller race in a really gorgeous part of New England that is going to give you that small town vibe, is going to give you that big mountain vibe without having to like run on an actual mountain, you know, like not being an ultra marathon, like on an actual freaking trail. I think that this marathon is for you. I think that there's definitely some significant downhill, so train for that. But the course is beautiful. The volunteers are beautiful. Everything is wonderful. I think my only critique, honestly, is the fact that I think the merchandise is kind of ugly. I'm so sorry, but Mr. Clarence DeMar does not have a face for cameras. He's just like, and it's pictures of him from like 1920. So they're like really grainy pictures, and I absolutely love the shirt, but I would like him to not be on my shirt because it makes the shirt kind of ugly. So that is really my only critique if I'm going to be critiquey about it, you know. But other than that, like, I really, really enjoyed the race, and I would highly recommend that if this is something you're interested in, if you're looking for a fall marathon, go for it, you know? So, and we'll just say thank you to the race organizers and also to the director and to anyone who volunteered for the Clarence DeMar race. So there you go. The Clarence DeMar race 2024. And if you enjoyed this episode, I just want to remind all of you to rate and review our episode on Apple Podcasts. We don't have any reviews yet, and I'd love to read some of them on the show. So if you would like to rate and review our show, please do so on Apple Podcasts. We would absolutely love to see some reviews of the show. And I will catch you guys on our next episode of Runnah. Thank you for listening to this episode of Runnah. This podcast is edited, hosted, and produced by me, Juliana Coughlin. Brought to you in part by the Falmouth Running Club and the Falmouth Community TV station. If you'd like to connect with us, you can find us on Instagram and on TikTok at Runnapod. And you can send us an email at runnapod@gmail.com. And our original theme music was brought to you by the one and the only wonderful Jeffrey Hutton. And keep up the great work. I'm proud of you.